Today's project is to set up irrigation for 500 square metres of garden. So I'm going to be using 200 metres of 1/2 inch poly pipe as the backbone. I'm going to split that into 4 runs of 50 metres. The best price I found on poly pipe in Chiang Mai was at Taiwan, but it was really quite a low quality poly pipe. And you can see the colour coding on the side of the poly pipe. There's a stripe of colour. So the white stripe was the low quality pipe that I found, and it was 250 baht for 100 metres. Also at Taiwan they had a green stripe poly pipe, which was a really high price, but again high quality. I ended up going for the orange stripe, and I got this at Chiang Mai markets. So this was 960 baht for 200 metres, so double the price of the white stripe. But I'm quite happy with the quality of this poly pipe. I ended up buying all my irrigation supplies at Chiang Mai markets. There's a shop there that specialises in irrigation, and they can give pretty good advice. I've got a few different kinds of drippers. So I've got the 4 litre per hour, I've got some 8 litre per hour, and these red ones are variable flow. I've also got various connectors, so T's, I've got some elbows, so they were about 3 baht each. These packs of drippers, you can see they're 150 baht for a pack of 50, so they're really quite inexpensive. To terminate the poly pipe, I have some of these style terminations with the 2 rings, and to use these you simply fold over the poly pipe at the end, creating a kink, and that seems to work quite well. For the sprayers, I've got some micro tubing, and I've also got some emitters for the sprayers. These are fairly low flow, there's different flow ratings, and I've got a mixture of 360 degree and 180 degree spray emitters. So the only thing that's missing here is I need the plastic stakes that these emitters fit into, and I'll be picking those up this afternoon. I'm using a Holman irrigation controller that I bought in Sydney, Australia. I really wasn't able to find what I was looking for here in Chiang Mai at the right price. So I got this controller and the 4 solenoid watering station for $200 as a kit, $200 Australian, so that's about 6,000 baht, which is a much better price than you'll find in Thailand. So here we have the housing for the 4 solenoids that are going to control the irrigation system. I've got my 24 volt power supply here, 24 volt AC, and I've got an inline filter here that I picked up while I was in Australia. I haven't been able to find these anywhere in Chiang Mai. They may exist, but certainly talking to various people, they're not commonly used. But I definitely recommend getting one of those. This particular model reduces the pressure, so I didn't have to get a separate pressure reducer. So the filter unscrews, you can clean it. So here's the filter here. I can see there's already a few little bits of PVC, blue PVC piping in there from where the PVC has been cut. So definitely happy that I've got that filter there to pick up any contaminants that are in the line and stop my drippers and sprayers from getting clogged. And then I've got a shut-off valve here, so if I turn that on and do a quick pressure test and just confirm that there's no leaks, and that's looking fine. One of the things not covered in the instruction manual is the colour coding of the different wires that go to the solenoids. So you need to just pop the cover off here. Then you can visually inspect what the colours are. So going to each solenoid there's 2 wires. One of solid colour, so if you look at the first solenoid here, the first one's blue, and then another wire that's white and blue. And so looking across here from left to right, I've got blue, brown, green and orange. So I need to remember that so I can wire it up correctly at the controller. So let's just put the cover back on there. Okay, so now that we know the colour coding for the solenoids, we can wire up the controller here. So I've gone ahead and all the wires that have got white in them, I've connected them to the common terminal. And then for stations 1, 2, 3 and 4, I've connected these so that the solenoids will be numbered from left to right, 1, 2, 3 and 4, using the colours blue, brown, green and yellow. I've also got a 9-volt battery in there so that I won't lose my programming if I lose power for any reason. The programming of the controller is quite intuitive, so it's currently, the dial here is set to auto run, which is the normal position. To set up, if I move it here, I can set the date and the time. For each of the 4 stations I can set the start times. I can set special intervals if I want to water on alternative days or other patterns. I can set a run time for each of the 4 stations, so by default it's set to 1 to 10 minutes for each station. I can run through each station as a test cycle, or I can choose a single station to test. I can run the entire program, or during the rainy season I can turn the whole system off. So let's run a test on one of the stations. So I'll select station 3. Okay, so I can hear the solenoid humming. I'll just need to open the valve here and number 3 should release. Great, so we at least got number 3 wired correctly. To lay your pipe out, you're going to need some polypipe cutters like these. So let's just cut off a section of polypipe here that we can experiment with. The connector barbs fit in quite easily. They're snug but not too tight, so they're quite easy to add on or remove if you need to. So when you first lay out your pipe and terminate it, if you fully pressurize it, it's likely that you'll blow these connectors out. So you'll need to add a few drippers and sprayers onto the pipe before you can go any further. To add an emitter, you'll need a hole punch like this. You may also get a free smaller hole punch with one of the kits, but I really recommend if you're going to be punching 50 or 100 holes that you get a decent tool like this one. To add an emitter, you simply take the poly pipe, punch a hole, and if I take one of the drippers, that will just clip in, and that's all there is to it. To assemble a sprayer, you'll need one of these plastic stakes. You can buy these in bulk as a riser, and select the emitter that you want. So this spray emitter is 360 degrees, so that should screw in quite easily, and I just hand tighten that. So then to run this back to the poly tube, 1/2 inch poly tube, I've got some micro tubing here, 4mm, and I'll just cut a short length of that to demonstrate. Okay, now it can be a little bit difficult to get the micro tubing onto the bottom of the spray emitter, so what you can do is take a cigarette lighter and just make it a little bit soft. We don't really want to burn it, and that should push on. Okay, so that's our spray emitter. Now you can buy these fully assembled, but it's going to cost you about 3 times as much. It's better to assemble it yourself if you want to save a little bit of money. Then to add it to the poly pipe, we need one of these 4mm barbs, and again I'll take the poly pipe and we just want to punch another small hole, and we put in the micro tubing barb. It just snaps in the same way the dripper snapped in before, and then we take the run of micro tubing and it goes onto these barbs here. I've got a few drippers and sprayers connected now, so let's take it for a test run. So I'll just go to run single station and we'll test station 1. So the dripper's working nicely and the sprayer's working great too.